The early 1800s, overwhelmed with the American Revolution, rapid urbanization, and depressing economic change, looked towards alcohol more than ever before. Hardship and poverty soon spawned a generation that saw saloons and bars as part of everyday life. Men contended with stress, grief, pain, and anger by drowning their sorrows in liquor, so it wasn't long before religious leaders grew worried. They started what became the movement of a century, the temperance movement, urging people to stop drinking and renew their commitment to religion and morality. By the late 1800s, the movement was fading, but one wealthy dentist from San Francisco, Henry D. Cogswell, pledged to set up one drinking fountain for every 100 saloons or bars in the nation. Each fountain, designed by Cogswell himself, originally channeled clean drinking water and came with a ladle. However, most of these fountains were ill-received by members of their community and were pulled down, buried, vandalized, or drowned in nearby lakes. Among the few that remained is the Cogswell Temperance Fountain, as it is called in the nation's capital. Originally located at the corner of 7th and Indiana Avenue, this fountain is little more than a testament to the optimism of Cogswell, who was persuaded that people would take one look at it and renounce booze. Also located on 7th and Indiana, near Rum Row, was the busy Apex Liquor Store, an unconventional yet prosperous neighbor until the fountain itself was moved a few blocks to its current location on Pennsylvania Avenue. Having narrowly escaped demolition in April of 1945 by Senator Sheridan Downey of California, who introduced a resolution that failed only because Congress was preoccupied with World War II, the fountain suffered titles like City's Ugliest Statue and Monstrosity of Art, and even prompted the creation of fine arts committees dedicated to screen future gifts. The fountain has long since been disconnected from the running water that originally labeled it, and now remains a dry, pillared structure with nothing so much as a plaque to explain it. The words faith, hope, temperance, and charity are inscribed dutifully on each of the four sides, and a metal heron perches on top of a roof that houses a pair of entwined heraldic dolphins, from whose mouth the water originally flowed. The dolphins of the ancient world were symbols of purity and cleanliness. However, the dolphins of Cogswell's creation are eccentric and even slightly scary. Much of the original aversion to the fountain stems from the monstrous looks of these creatures. Visitors today who stop by long enough to wonder at the dolphins and the heron can't even infer that there is symbolism involved. Many simply assume that the fountain retains some relationship to Asian culture, but they can see no connection to the four words inscribed just above. Faith, hope, temperance, and charity seems like a random slogan to bewilder disinterested tourists.
Well, I don't know exactly. I think that this Chinese art. I don't think exactly what they need to do here. Did it have something to do with water?
The word temperance refers to an era where people wanted to stop others from drinking alcohol. While that still occurs today, there is not such an advocated movement for it, seeing as how society has come to embrace alcohol as a beverage, and few know what its true meaning signifies. Hope expressed the desires of temperance supporters for everyone to stop drinking in hopes of a dry nation. Obviously, judging by the non-existence of the temperance movement at this point in time, and the hundreds of thousands of liquor stores across the country, there is no realistic reason to hope for a United States that does not consume alcohol. Faith signified the devotion towards one's religion by ceasing to consume alcoholic beverages. Back then, people were mostly of one or two religions based on the same beliefs. Nowadays, however, there are numerous religions that probably have nothing against alcohol or the consumption of such a beverage. Last but not least, the fountain itself could be seen as an act of charity towards a community by providing people with fresh, clean drinking water. The catch in this assumption, however, is that the fountain has been disconnected for years and appears to be nothing but a tourist attraction as travelers scurry by when they leave the metro station across the street to reach their destinations. The fountain is out of date and doesn't serve its original purpose any more now than it did back during temperance. The words on the fountain no longer apply to our time period or sets of ideals. The bottom of the fountain is badly littered with plastic cans and other trash, remnants of a vendor's cart 10 feet away, and the site is popular among pigeons claiming scattered breadcrumbs. One look at the fountain lets visitors know that it is not cleaned often. The location itself is fairly prominent. The monument is right across the street from the National Archives, a major metro station, bus stops, and a street of busy restaurants. Most of its visitors are likely to be tourists or people heading to work. There's certainly nothing sacred or sensitive in the air. Instead of a liquor store, it now has a Starbucks across the street, but this does not necessarily bring it much more regard. Surrounded by 3 or 4 other statues nearby, the fountain does not attract very much attention from passerby, many of whom chose to take pictures of lingering squirrels instead. Most are disinterested and some are amused, but all of them are ignorant. None, not even the daily commuters, know the history or the message of a monument that was once the pride of temperance crusaders. No one can understand the symbolism of the sculpted heron and dolphins. At the very least, a monument commands respect from its viewers, even if they are uninformed. This one does not. In the 1800s, men drank because they were tired and sad and worried, not because they didn't have fresh water.
I don't think so.
I lived here, I guess, 30 years ago when this place was all kind of junk around here. But the statue was always here. It was always like all the coolest thing because it was about prohibition and like strict law.
Did the fountain dissuade you at all from drinking?
Oh no. It was usually on my way to a bar that I'd walk by.
Cogswell, having completely missed this point, created a monument that has more value as a witness to the great opposition faced by the temperance fountain than as an instrument of the movement itself. The monument utterly failed in its purpose, and is certainly not more effective today than it was before. An outlier in a busy city with many sights to see, the temperance fountain rarely wins attention from tourists or residents, apart from the occasional click of a camera. It is neither practical nor effective, nor aesthetically pleasing, yet most of them say they want it to stay, if only as a fragment of history.
Have you ever noticed this stuff? The structures that are around the city should not be torn down because someone thinks it's ugly. Because of the history and because it was important when it was built.
Well, I would say they shouldn't demolish it, but they can move it somewhere else probably, if there's like plans for something better to go.
I guess the message is maybe not drink as much as we used to. When you drink in moderation, maybe that could be the message for today.
Did this have an effect on you that you started to drink less?
Dolphins are characterized as sleek creatures that flow freely and graciously through the water, but the dolphins in the fountain appear coarse, weighed down, and intertwined. They symbolize mankind who has been overwhelmed by emotions of anger, grief, and hopelessness. However, the water protruded from the mouths of the fountain, dolphins, rather than remaining stagnant in the fountain. Drinking from this flowing water symbolizes the releasing of these burdens and negative feelings, which have been suppressed by alcohol. Now that society has embraced a lifestyle with alcohol, the original purpose of the fountain seems insignificant, but the individuals we interviewed enjoy the history of it, and it serves as a reminder that, like the people of that era, we are now undergoing tough economic times. However, rather than succumbing to alcohol to cope with our problems, we should stay sober and have faith and hope that we will overcome these difficulties. Rather than viewing the monument as purposeless since the temperance movement is over, we should value the spiritual and moral qualities the statue exuberates through the inscriptions of hope, faith, charity, and temperance. We should have hope and faith that times will change and we will transcend these trials and adversities. Rather than wallow in defeat, we should be charitable and gain comfort from the happiness of giving, and by living in moderation and exhibiting the original meaning of temperance, we will be able to overcome our predicaments of being in debt. Following these religious qualities will lead to the betterment of